I bet you have some guesses on what this small device is that I'll be talking about in this video. What I'm telling you guys is you're probably wrong. This is called the Stringweaver. The owner of the company actually reached out to me sometime a little bit before I headed off to nationals, and he seemed like a passionate tennis player, so I decided to give this product a try. And just a forewarning, he did send me two of these, one for the closed string pattern, which is a denser string pattern, one for the more open string pattern for tennis rackets. But this video is absolutely not sponsored by it. He just gave me two versions of these for free along with the shipping. Actually, in order to use this device, I actually have to be stringing a tennis racket. So I'm actually gonna be restringing the long-awaited Witex Quadro Twist, which is heavily requested on my Discord. I'll leave a link to my Discord down in the section below if you want to talk about tennis stuff with passionate tennis players all around the world. And what do you know? I have a setup right here. Let's string. That light is absolutely bright. I'm gonna shine it over here. So the Witex Quadro Twist is actually a perfect kind of test for this type of machine, because the Witex Quadro Twist, even though this is the 16L gauge because I couldn't find a 16 gauge online, it's actually, it's twisted. I don't know if you want to call it shaped at all, but it's definitely twisted, similar to the Solinco barbed wire, which is a horrible strain to string, especially in weaving the crosses. But this is a pretty good setup. This is only going to be able to be used on the crosses, so let's string the mains first, and then we'll test this bad boy out. If you guys are curious on how I'm making this porn-like angle, this is my setup, where I have my GoPro Hero 10 along with basically a tentacle arm clamp right on my handle of my racket, so you guys can see this angle. Thought I'd share with you guys. Now that the mains are done and the knots are tighter than high schoolers' line call, we can finally install the Stringweaver. Now, as I said, the red one is for the more normal open string patterns for the rackets. The blue ones, as you can tell, are a little bit tighter. So this is for more like 18 by 19 or 18 by 20 string patterns. So 16 mains, 18 mains. Red is open, blue is closed. So keep that in mind if you guys are thinking about buying this. If I could explain to you what this actually does. Now, what this actually does is it positions the mains to a preferable position to make weaving a lot faster. So the hardest part about stringing, other than one, getting the willingness to learn, and two, not breaking the racket, which actually is pretty easy. The most time-consuming part, I would say 75% of the time. So in a 15-minute string job, which is fairly, not rush, but I wouldn't say it's like super relaxed where you're having a beer or having a whiskey while watching a movie and stringing rackets. 15 minutes is like pure dedication for, you know, a well-versed or like kind of like almost like a master class stringer, a stringer that's been stringing for 10, 15 plus years, like a boy over here. But this is a good stepping stone to kind of get you to weave all in one go instead of going under, then up, then stopping, under, then up, and stopping. It's a real pain. So what this actually does is, as long as you position, this actually goes pretty well with a Pure Aero VS, which is the racket I'm doing right now. So you position the teeth, the red teeth, over here, and then you take this, and then this actually moves, and there's a reason for that. You position it, and then you slide it So when you tilt it one way, string A goes up. When you tilt it the other way, string A is pushed down. And it's alternating, obviously, going up, down, up, down, up, down, and you flip the other way, they're all inverted. It's a pretty simple tool. It's not perfect, but it's the only one I've seen out here, and it's going to benefit both beginner / intermediate stringers, and it's also going to benefit more experienced stringers like myself, but in 2 different ways. But let me do a few for you guys before I get to the analysis and whether or not it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it kind of is worth it at about like what, 35 bucks? I'll list the prices right here if you guys haven't seen it already, but you guys should consider it just for the idea, but we'll see how it is in practice. So this is a regular one. The starting one's always kind of weird, but all you really got to do is when you thread the new one through, pull the lever the other way. Wow. I just pulled a Will Smith on you guys, sorry about that. Pull the lever the other way. So it's a lot easier to weave. Now I know this might seem a little bit slow in comparison to the other strings, but you have to understand that this Quadro twist, when it was given to me in a package, it was kind of already unraveled. So it's kind of tangly on top of the nature of the Quadro twist. It's a fairly unruly song when it comes to behaving, kind of like this goddamn mount, because it can't handle any. So there are a lot of positives for using this Stringweaver machine. And I had to kind of put myself into the shoes of an amateur stringer, a stringer that has strung less than, I would say, 100, 200 rackets in his or her lifetime. But the pros and the cons are different for seasoned stringers and amateur stringers, so let's talk about it. For amateur stringers, the pros for using the Stringweaver, the pros for using the Stringweaver is that it makes weaving crosses a lot easier to do and a lot easier to understand. And it also teaches you how to weave crosses in one go if you guys haven't done so already. And if you guys have already done it, it teaches how to do it even faster. The Stringweaver cons for amateur stringers is that it's another thing you have to learn how to kind of do or use. When it comes to stringing tennis rackets, you have to be able to, check for the difference between a superficial crack or an internal crack. You have to learn the different string patterns. You have to learn the different knots that you have to use, and finding which holes you got to use for the knots. You just got to shove it in there sometimes. That's what she said. Or you just gotta, as sexual as it sounds, kind of spit on. The point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of things that are coming at you as an amateur tennis stringer. So having another skill set, having another device on top of all the scissors or pliers that you have to use, it might be a little bit intimidating, but in my opinion, it's worth it. Also, a little bit of a side note, I know it's only about 30, 35 bucks, maybe 40 with shipping, but typically amateur stringers are typically like college kids or high school kids or maybe even some middle schoolers. You might not have 35 or so bucks to spend, but I think you could get around it if you just do some extra chores, or if you work a few more hours, or if you're at the bar, you order rail shots instead of top shelf. Speaking from experience. But for the pros, for the Stringweaver for expert stringers, is that it slows me down. It slows me down about 5 to 10 minutes. And a really, really good thing for this device is that I actually just don't notch. It's basically impossible to notch across because you are forced to slow down. And because I'm kind of a speedy type of guy in many different aspects, being forced to slow down, being forced to use a machine that kind of forces me to take my time in the most important part of the racket, besides maybe the knots, the most important part of racket stringing, that's definitely a pro, at least in my book. The only negative I can think about this for expert stringers is that it, again, slows you down about 5 to 10 minutes. So a typical racket for me to do is about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the string setup. But taking an extra 5 to 10 minutes to make sure that it's a super high quality, there's no notching on the mains or crosses, I think that's totally worth it, unless you're in a huge like time crunch. And if you're in a huge time crunch, you probably planned your day incorrectly. This type of device is most effective on polyesters on the main that are really, really sharp, like Solinco Hyper G or any 4, 5, or 3-sided tennis string, because the thing that actually cuts into the crosses is actually going to be the mains themselves, and vice versa. If you have any type of sharp string in the crosses, or maybe even like a natty gut or some sort of softer multi-filament on the mains, this is going to be a pretty damn good device for you to use as well. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. This is a pretty cool thing that I discovered, so check it out. I'll leave a link to the website down in the description below. Again, I'm not being paid to make this video. I just did it because I thought it was a cool thing that I personally think the tennis industry, especially the people on YouTube, the stringers out there, should at least know about it. So if you guys have seen this before, do me a favor, leave a comment down in the section below. And if you've used it before, let me know what you think. Let me know if it's worth 35 or 40 bucks. For me, it totally is. And if you guys have any further questions, I am on Discord along with about 875 other tennis enthusiasts around the world. I can't talk today for some reason because I don't have enough caffeine. And I am on Twitch. I also live stream on YouTube and Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, if you guys want to hop in and ask a question or just hang out. As always, guys, happy hitting.